in this episode, especially when you look at the Devils and the Rangers. The Devils had a really weird season last year, especially with the roster the way it was. It made no sense why they weren't having success, especially with all their goaltending drama. So you have to expect the Devils to have more success this year, which would knock out the Flyers from that spot that they were in this past season.
Yeah, when you look at it, you like to say, well, Michkov's going to make a big difference, and he probably will, and the power play should be better. But if you really look at it on balance, if you want to look at this objectively, you lost your goaltender from last year, who probably would have been mentioned in that Four Nations tournament, probably would have been the goaltender for Canada. So he's gone. So you kind of, it's not exactly a wing and a prayer, but there's a lot of hope involved with the Flyers goaltending. The Devils, new coach, which I think I like Lindy Ruff, but I think they needed a change there. And they got a goaltender, and I believe they may get another goaltender. I think that they learned their lesson. So we'll see what happens here. And beyond that, Ashlyn, you've got Hughes and Hughes there. Yeah. I mean, when you've got Jack Hughes and he's getting more developed as a player, just maturing as a player, just getting stronger. Good as he was, he did some dumb things. And I think that won't happen as much anymore. And that's a frightening player to have to go up against time and time in the division. And then, the other Hughes, it's just a great young team. And they've got Hischier. So they have two terrific centermen. So that's a big advantage. You look at the difference. Hischier with the Devils, and the Flyers had Nolan Patrick. You look at the difference in what's happened with those two players in their careers. So I really look at them as like I look at that as a team like, and they're gonna be a problem, not just this year, but for many, many years to come. So that's when you want to say, well, the Flyers are better, and they will be. I think the Devils are going to be markedly better.
They absolutely, and it seems like, especially when we go back to that outdoor series last year at MetLife Stadium and how one-sided that game was. And I know for Flyers fans growing up, it was the epic Penguins battle. To me, this is the battle now for the Flyers. And it's going to be, especially when you have that young roster with the Devils. And that's the hope, is that the Flyers can make this competitive, because right now, when you look at these two teams on paper, it shouldn't be competitive. The Flyers, they play so hard and they make it competitive. But when you look at the firepower the Devils have, they're going to be a threat for a long time. And I think this is the new rivalry that fans get fired up about. When I talk to younger Flyers fans in their 20s and their 30s, they talk about the Devils matchups, which is funny how it's kind of shifted from the Penguins growing up.
The Penguins, well, obviously when Crosby's there, and you've been in town a couple of years now, but I don't care what sport you are, you just throw the name New York on your uniform, and it's like, okay, we don't like you. It's as simple as that. Whether you're Giants or Jets or Yankees or Mets or whomever, and certainly the Rangers. The Rangers, had a terrific year last year. I think people forget how good a year they had last year, rolling past 100 points. And they're going to be, they've got Fox, their goaltending. Their goaltender, I think, is the last year of a contract, so he's going to be trying to hit that home run. He already hits one every night anyway. So, Zibanejad, God, we know what he can do. Oh. But I think he had an off year, and I think their 5-5 should be better. There'll be little patience there. They get that Remke kid, which who knows? I saw him take like boxing lessons on the ice this year. I don't quite know why they'd want that kid to go through this, but I will say that place is bonkers anyway. And when you get a big physical kid like that, and the team gets in a little bit of trouble, he just puts one skate on the ice, the place goes crazy, and the energy level goes up. So I think that's also going to be a big issue. Now, I'm not trying to bring people down. I'm just saying
it's realistic.
What you're looking at. But what it will bring, Ashlyn, is terrific games. When you've got rivalry, and you mentioned it, Devils, huge rivalry, no matter who's there. You want the tickets for that game. The Rangers, huge rivalry coming in. You want the tickets for that game. So you look right through. That's why I loved it when you had many more division games, because the rivalry and the blood pressure rising for each of those games, it just made it a much more interesting building.
No, it's true. I mean, I was talking to my dad the other day and we were doing our Thanksgiving plans and he's coming up for the Black Friday game. When I was telling him that it's against the Rangers, he's like, oh man, like this is my dad, isn't the biggest hockey fan, us being from the South. But like, he was like, we have to be at that game. We got to be at the 1:00 puck drop to watch this Rangers matchup. And I think that shows, especially last year with the Flyers, because at that point we didn't really know what the Flyers were. But if you remember that Black Friday game, it was energy, it was competitive. And just to be able to be in those type of games says a lot about the Flyers with how far they've come, because I know a couple of years ago that was the case. Let's
just rewind a little bit. So it's August and you're doing your Thanksgiving plans.
Yeah, I'm type A, I know.
I don't even have Labor Day plans yet. You have one of those like calendars?
Oh, you should do my
beside
calendar.
Your phone, even that has everything that's happening in your life.
I have one in print, and I have my Google on my phone, and my Google is color coordinated to personal plans and work plans.
So are you right through Christmas now?
My what?
Are you through Christmas?
I have my Christmas flight booked. Yeah, I'm good.
Well, today's Friday, and I don't know what time I'm teeing off Saturday morning. I'll do that after this. I'll go online and try to do it. So good for you. And you're right, the Black Friday game's really, really
We're
great.
so excited about it.
Whatever.
Mid-opening night. Let's talk about Black Friday.
I'm just trying to pick. I mean, is George, your dog, sitting next to you while you're plotting out?
Okay. And then I book all his dog sitting. I get to, with his team, his entourage, his dog walking, his dog sitting. We have a backup dog walker. And then I start planning all of that out. So he's taken care of.
So you sit on a panel with Scott Hartnell and myself, who we don't even know literally when we're doing the next
you guys
day.
Don't know we're going to commercial break. You guys know nothing.
Well, anyway, if you are planning for the future, those games are great to go to see. And the Penguins, of course, Penguins they made a really interesting move when, kid didn't want to play for Winnipeg, McGroarty, the kid from University of Michigan. And that's a problem anymore, Ashlyn. I mean,
yeah,
your American kid, I think he actually is from Nebraska. And, he get drafted by Winnipeg. And I got to admit, I know Scott likes it out there, whatever, but unless you're like born in Saskatchewan, I don't see the appeal. But, they're a member club and it's horrible for them to have a kid that didn't want to play there. But they got a pretty good trade with Pittsburgh for a kid that'll probably play next year for them, a number 14 pick the next year. But the Penguins get this kid. He's a highly skilled kid. What the Penguins have, all the older players. They're trying to make one more kick at the can with the Crosby group and all the stars they brought in. And I think he is going to help them. And I think he's going to help them now and in the future, which is why also I look at that team having upgrade just because of that move. I mean, you can say, okay, they're going to be a bit older. Maybe they won't get as much out of Crosby. How many years have we been saying that? Or anybody there that you think might be on the other end of a career, and they may be, but they seem to crank it up toward the end of the year. So that's going to make them tougher too. So if you want to talk about rivalry, yeah, they get the Penguins right there with Crosby, and now this kid. We saw what happened right here in Philly where the kid didn't want to play here. Flyers are forced to make what I thought was a pretty good trade, and I think Winnipeg did well with the kid that'll help them in the future, but I think the Penguins did really well getting this McGroarty kid out of Michigan to play this year and really upgrade stuff there. So there's another worry, and you want to put it in your future book. Put it into your future book. Those are more nights to worry about in January or February, however many months you're up to there.
I'm up to March. Thank you. This is a very pessimistic podcast episode, I will admit, and we don't mean to be, but there are a lot of worries. Another of them I don't think we talk enough about is the Islanders. Those were great games.
Yeah.
And they're always going to be in the headlines with Lou Lamoriello, who is.
Well, that's another story that they get a player, Anthony Duclair, who has to cut his hair, that dreads, and he put this really sad picture on Instagram, I guess it was, or X, whichever. Social media platform, they all run into each other. Once you put one, it gets on one, it gets everyone. And, with a emoji with a tear coming down that the hair is gone. And I felt bad. I don't know where don't quite know what to make of this. I don't particularly like dress codes. You can tell by my T-shirt. It's basically, I would come in with this all the time.
You wear Skechers on television, yes.
Yeah, I do. I do. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't like it necessarily, but you can run a team the way that you want. You don't want to play there. You don't have to play there. The Yankees do it with the facial hair, and you can have a mustache, but you can't touch your collar or something. This goes back to when I was in high school. I had the mullet and all that. And I remember in Catholic school, you come in one day and the brother just grabbed me by the hair and just pulled it and just cut it. So that's that. You can't do this. And I was like, but you know what it did? It made me want to have long hair even more.
I bet it did.
So I guess, and even the Flyers, I know they have to wear the sweatsuits on the road. I think the players would rather wear better, I'm going to say better, but different to show off their style. Let's put it that way. I think that they would, they've got some, I guess it used to be called drip. I don't even know if that's still the term anymore.
Remember you called it droop? Yeah.
Yeah, I was droop. They were drip. They were all drippy. And I think that having the sweatsuits on the road, I don't think they particularly liked it. But remember the Winter Classic?
It was awesome.
The Flyers came out with like Rocky, and remember the Islanders?
They were so lame.
Because it's Lou Lamoriello, you have to wear the shirt and tie. But
not that game. Everyone else is doing it and you can't do it. It's either everyone should do it or no one should.
That's the way he is. And I've known Lou since Providence College. That's how long back. And he's a Hall of Famer. I don't like it. I prefer some style. I'm kind of sad that he cut the hair. But it's hard to argue against it with the success that they've had. And people want to play for them. It's just like the Yankees. Everybody gets there, has to do that. I'm waiting for the day when somebody just says, "No, I'm not." And a big star says, "No, I'm not." Now Lou, even he doesn't allow the big numbers. I think a couple of guys have got away with it because they wore them previously. Maybe Pajot wore 44. But when I first covered the Flyers, Timmy Kerr, who was a big player, wanted to wear, I believe, number 66 or 77 because it makes you look bigger.
Yeah.
Literally and they wouldn't let him do it. And I'm like, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. But there's certain goofy rules. I don't like the rule. The Islanders would be good because and again, it's like Lou, the way he does a team. They're a good defensive team. Mm-hmm. I think they're boring as hell. Get a couple of players that they can really motor or whatever. They had that fourth line that was terrific for so long, but they go out, they work, and Lou still does things like I have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and that's the way we have good goaltending like they do, and we're going to be a real hard team to play against. Personally, Ashlyn, I'll take a fancier skater, and I'll take the dreads. I like it better.
Yeah, I'm with you. And for everyone that listens to this podcast episode, you learned so many terms from Al. I hope you write them all down because he is an encyclopedia of social terms. Drip, not droop, a key one.
Well, at a certain age, you don't get any choice.
You're not. And that's South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. We'll see you next week.